This is Why Am I a Mets Fan? A podcast hosted by Samantha Croston and Ashley Wenskoski.
Hi, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Why Am I a Mets Fan podcast. That's Ashley Wenskoski. I'm Samantha Croston, and we are two Syracuse sports reporters, who have a baseball podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Do want to start off, obviously, knowing that we have a lot of viewers based on the West Coast, to just say sorry and that we're thinking about you with all of what's going on with the fires. Know that's been a really, really tough situation for a lot of people. Know a lot of families have been displaced, and we really are thinking about you. I think these are the kinds of things that you don't even think are possible until you see them. And we're so sorry for anyone who's been impacted by this, or anyone who has any family members or friends or anyone who they know. So if there's anything that we can do, please let us know.
Yeah, a bit ironic when we actually started off last week's episode talking about our trip to the West Coast and how great it was. Not exactly in the LA area, but everyone in that area of Southern California, we're thinking about you. I know you've occupied a ton of my thoughts this week, just seeing everything on the news and seeing it's so horrific what you guys are going through. And I think it's so scary to know that really the unknown of those fires, right? They change direction. You don't know if you're in danger, if you're not. So we're thinking about you. We're wishing you the best. And hopefully, that cleanup and that recovery can get started soon.
Yeah, really cool little thing here. This was per Jeff Passan. Los Angeles Dodgers star Freddie Freeman and his wife Chelsea are actually donating $100,000 to three organizations: the Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation, is it the Pasadena Fire Department, and the Salvation Army for wildfire relief efforts in Los Angeles. Really cool to see, and I think, again, just continues to show that Dodgers fan base, Dodgers community, Dodgers players really do look out for one another. But again, not just Dodgers, also Padres, Angels, any fan bases, any teams who are impacted, we're thinking of you right now.
Yes, we are, and we hope that all, hopefully that all dies down soon, because it's genuinely so terrible, and you're in our thoughts and our prayers. And if we can do anything, let us know.
Yeah, please do. Hopefully we can even provide a little entertainment for you now. Maybe you just get your mind off it for a few minutes. So today we're actually here, of course, to start off with talking about Sasaki, because bad news for us, good news for some of you, bad news if you're a Mets fan.
Womp womp.
Wait, perfect womp womp. Oh, by the way, we also decided that Ashley is only allowed to use tantalized or tantalizing one time per episode.
I saw it. You know what? You're right. I used it maybe 3 or 4 times last episode. It's not a special if you overuse it. So it'll be coming out one time per episode. That means it hits heavier, though. It hits harder.
Yeah. That means it's really tantalizing when she says it.
Right. Or I'm not. If it's not tantalizing, then I'm upset.
Maybe one of each. Maybe tantalizing, not tantalized. Yeah, we hear you. We see you. But the bottom line is that sweepstakes is swinging to the west. The New York Mets have been informed. They're out. That's per John Heyman. The finalists, according to Jeff Passan, are as follows: Los Angeles Dodgers, who's surprised, San Diego Padres, and Toronto Blue Jays. And what do we think about all of that?
Yeah, so Sasaki is going to decide on a team by the closing of his posting window on January 23rd. Right now it's the 14th, so that's in about a week. His agent actually revealed that he got presentations from 20 MLB teams. I mean, that is 2/3 of the league.
Unbelievable when you really think about it.
It's a lot. Respectfully, in my opinion, he's not going to Toronto. So it's going to be another Dodgers-Padres showdown. I saw the Blue Jays.
You're a Toronto hater.
No, because they're the bridesmaid and they're never the bride. The Blue Jays are that friend that never has had their own wedding. They're in on all these free agents. It'll be rumor, Blue Jays in on him, Blue Jays talk to him. They never sign the free agent.
They're the Robin, never the Batman.
Right.
Sucks to say.
Right.
But it's true.
Still looking for
the
that
bridesmaid
fiancé.
one stings. That stings.
Right. They catch the bouquet.
Oh no.
They've
caught 10 bouquets.
Yeah.
And yet here they are, still single.
Yeah, tough.
That is tough. No, honestly, I do feel like a lot of times, I could run back the tape on 5 times when you've been end of the day, it's not going to be the Blue Jays.
We should make a montage of me being anyways, it's not the Blue Jays. And you know what? Has it been the Blue Jays? No.
Not yet. I'm still holding out hope they're going to find their true love. But I have to say that I agree. I don't think Sasaki is the Blue Jays suitor. I don't think that's their one true love. But it's hard when you have such a handsome fella like the Dodgers trying to just poach every single girl.
The Dodgers are like the most eligible bachelor that like you've ever seen.
Dude.
Like they've got the money, they've got the looks, they've got the
6'5",
history,
blonde hair,
No, exactly,
blue eyes,
exactly.
the whole 9 yards.
Oh my
probably
God.
work in finance. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And you know what? It kind of opens up a bigger, broader point, which it's like we hit on, but we don't, because we're appreciative that the Dodgers fans watch the podcast. But like, y'all are our worst nightmare right now.
I have something to say about all of you. You know, we're all quite friendly to you Dodgers fans because of the love and support that you've shown us with this podcast, beginning in the NLCS when you were playing the Mets. But sometimes, like we were talking about this last week after the episode, we lose sight of the fact that we are never getting anywhere, and by we I mean the New York Mets, if we don't get through you. And so that, I haven't forgotten that, just so you all know.
No, it really is awful. Like when you put that in the notes, I sincerely started to think, like, are the Mets the Bills? Are they always going to be stopped by the Chiefs? Like, is it going to be that kind of? Me neither. But it's one of those things where like the Bills are going to go down in history, at least for right now, as like one of those really great teams that never won a Super Bowl. I know that the Mets already won a World Series, but not anytime in our lifetime.
We need to move on.
I'm just saying, it makes me feel nervous to think about. All that to say, the Dodgers are in. And an intriguing little bullet point, not to skip over it because Ashley wrote this down. I do think it's interesting. The Padres, all right, hold $6.2 million in bonus pool money. It can max out at around $10 million for potential bonuses. But the Dodgers have 5.1 in bonus pool money. That's tied for the second lowest in baseball with the Giants. It can max out at 8.2. So the money there, I guess the point is matters a little, or it doesn't. I guess we'll see what Sasaki chooses.
Sure. Yes, so he'll likely eat up a team's entire international bonus pool for the year, and obviously. So that question remains. Does he take a lower amount of money to sign with the Dodgers and to slot into that rotation where he has guys like Ohtani, Yamamoto, etc., or does he slide over to the Padres? I don't know.
What would you do?
Well, let's get into what would I do?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. If you are being courted, if you're a free agent right now and you're being courted by the Dodgers, what team can offer you a better picture and a better scope and depth of lineup and rotation? And I mean, they've proven it. They did it last year. They got all the way. Like, what team is offering you a better package right now than the Los Angeles Dodgers?
I mean, and I think money aside, like is
money aside. I'm not even talking about the money.
The money at that point doesn't. I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but I'm saying with the amount of just sheer factors and things that they have to offer, the rich are going to get richer here. Like we all see the writing on the wall.
I can't do this anymore.
Like we're all just like we're out here just like predicting and just saying there are other people in the mix. No one else is in the mix. It's the same on The Bachelor. They know who the winner's going to be, and there's still 4 episodes to go.
I know.
We all know. Everybody in the audience can see it.
And you know what? I'm just going to say it. I know that the best team on paper, you know, going into the new season, in the offseason, isn't always the team that gets there and goes to the World Series. But I mean, the Dodgers on paper, like this leads me to my next point about the Dodgers rotation. If they sign Sasaki, the Dodgers on paper are literally out of this world. Like I can't do it.
No, it's disgusting. So just to go through it quickly, Shohei Ohtani, right? 2-time AL MVP in the years he was pitching. I know he also got MVP this year. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, 3-time Pacific League MVP in Japan. ROKI SASAKI, we're talking about him right now, set several records also over in Japan. Tyler Glasnow, contender for the Cy Young Award in 2024, and Blake Snell, 2-time Cy Young Award winner. I also just want to say one thing. I took time to do the math. I've been doing a lot of math lately. Not a math girl, but been really into the math.
Not a math girl.
Not a math girl.
Numbers are not my friend.
But hear me out. I looked up all of the ages of these pitchers.
Oh, wow.
In this starting lineup, right? 30, 26, 23, 31, 32. Median age around 28.
We're doing averages.
We're doing averages, baby. I'm busting out.
All right.
Bring out your calculators. But the reason why I did it is because like the median age is 28. I understand no one is 28, but to have a 23-year-old, a 26-year-old.
This is if they sign Sasaki.
Yes, that is if they sign Sasaki. Sasaki is the 23-year-old to clarify.
Sure.
The 26-year-old is Yamamoto. But right, that is so different than, for example, a Mets lineup when Senga, Holmes, Manaea, and Montas are all over 30 years old or 30. Peterson's the only one in his 20s, 29. I mean, you have experience on your side, I guess. But to me, having a young pitching roster is a T word.
I was gonna say it, but then I decided I had to use
Wait,
it.
I saw you literally holding
I
it
was
in.
like-
You're like this. You can do it. You can say it if you want.
All right. So this Dodgers projected rotation, if they sign Sasaki, even if they don't sign Sasaki, but if they sign Sasaki and we go into sicko mode here in the Dodgers rotation, that is literally 4 guys, really like 4.5, who would be #1 ace caliber starters on any other team in baseball. That is, if you face that 5-man rotation, forget about the playoffs. Like, you know how in the playoffs you shorten it to like a 3-man, 4-man rotation, really need your top guys out there? That is a bona fide 5 guys every turn through the rotation. Oh my God, I can't do it anymore. I mean, you have Cy Youngs in there with Blake Snell. You have MVPs in there with Ohtani in the AL and last year in the NL.
No
Ohtani
joke.
seems like, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen when he comes back from injury. It seems like Ohtani's bound to win a Cy Young one of these days. Yamamoto could be in that conversation in the future.
Yep.
I am sick.
I'm sick to my stomach.
I'm ill.
I'm fearful.
I don't feel good.
Yeah, I don't feel well.
No, I don't feel well.
I feel bad, actually. I feel very badly. very
Forget
badly.
about the regular season because that's all all the horses can run together in the regular season. Just thinking about the playoffs and the fact that the Mets have to get through that rotation if they ever plan on getting anywhere in the next few years, 3 to 5 years. Oh my God.
And it's funny because I'm always a big,
This is my crash out.
especially in baseball, right? Like where so many of these teams are pretty evenly matched. I'm not saying everybody. There's obviously always the top and the bottom, but I do feel like far and away, you do feel like in the playoffs, like October baseball, even if you're not a baseball fan, is pretty fun to watch. Like anything can happen. It's not like one game. It's like you have a series, so you see what happens.
Experience last fall.
Right, sure. But like with the Dodgers, could anything happen, or is one thing going to happen?
And we didn't even get to the lineup and the.
I mean, the start, like the pitching. You know what word comes to mind? Consistency.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be a lineup that's good every night.
You don't have a hole.
That's really tough.
You literally don't have a hole. And I think now moving into it, when you get to the Mets projected rotation,
Womp, womp,
I'm
womp.
feeling a lot less tantalized. There it is, because all right. So the Mets are out on Sasaki. We were kind of holding out hope last week that they might, be back in that conversation. It is appearing like that's not going to happen. So
Do the projected rotation. I like that little twist. Let's give people a glass half full approach.
So we did the projected rotation last week, and we were quite down on it without Sasaki. However, I saw a tweet this week by @LindorCanWalk. Good stuff from you, Lindor Can Walk. So he outlined maybe there are a few reasons to be a little more optimistic about this Mets rotation, which is not the road that I typically like to travel down. But for argument's sake,
that is Ashley's road less traveled.
That is my road less traveled, but for argument's sake, let's take a journey. So you go through this year's projected Senga, Manaea, Peterson, Clay Holmes, Frankie Montas. Last year it was Manaea, Severino, Peterson, Quintana, and some kind of mix of McGill, Hauser, Blackburn. Last year's, so the rotation on the right, which would be last year's New York Mets rotation, which is not still together. They lost Severino, they lost Quintana, was 4th in the NL in ERA. When you think about the fact that Manaea was kind of your ace last year, I guess. At some points it was Severino, but 1-1A. Manaea was your ace. Now you have Senga. According to @Lindor Can Walk, he thinks Senga is better. I think there's potential for that to happen. I'm not confident in that happening. You get to the 2, Severino. Manaea better than Severino. Manaea is the 2 this year. Okay. Peterson at the 3, kind of equivalent Peterson, unless he has a big fall off year. Holmes, in his opinion, is better than Quintana, and Montas is better than the mixture of McGill, Blackburn, the gaggle of the extraneous characters, none of whom I'm a fan of. So that was.
Do you think Montas is better than McGill?
I mean, I think anybody's better than McGill. So don't even. That's an inside joke. This podcast hates on Tyler McGill. Anyway, so in his opinion, when you lay it out that way, it actually doesn't sound so bad. But as we outlined last year, there are so many ifs, ands, or buts in that situation. So much of that is hypothetical. That, like we said in our last episode, is literally counting on 2 of those 3 guys to replicate career years in in Manaea and Peterson.
Yep.
You're counting on Holmes to have a seamless transition to starter, which we've seen before. Doesn't mean it's everyone's cup of tea. You're counting on Kodai Senga to come back seamlessly from an injury that pretty much derailed his entire season last year. And you're counting on Frankie Montas to be better than the Gaggle, which, I mean, sure, I guess I'm confident in that.
I mean, yeah, listen, I'll take Montas over the Gaggle.
I'll
throw down $20 on that being true. But the other stuff, I don't know, man. Where he lost me a little, Senga is greater than Manaea. We'll see, bro. We'll see about that. I don't know. Lindor can walk. I gotta see that with my own eyes to believe it.
Listen, the upside is there on all of these things he's outlined.
Fine.
It's just a lot of ifs, and that's how I feel about this whole Mets rotation. It's a lot of. It's very unstable.
Agree. Like Manaea, yeah, I would say Manaea is better than Sevy. I still wish we had him though.
That's what I mean.
I prefer he was there than not.
If you slot Severino into this equation instead of a Holmes or a Montas, then I feel a little better. And
we don't even need the Gaggle.
We don't need the Gaggle. But you know what? Even like a David Peterson, he said Peterson equivalent to Peterson. Sure, but you're also banking on Peterson to replicate a really good year. In all likelihood, like if we're going to talk about numbers, you want to play odds and averages, someone's going to take a step back this year. That's just likelihood,
because all of them did so good.
Yeah,
like I just don't. Again, you're trying to replicate greatness, which is what we sort of talked about last week with a couple of, I'm not going to say old timers because they're all 30 and I'm 26, but you know what I mean.
And then if somebody gets hurt, then you got to slot in somebody from the Gaggle. We're going to call it the Gaggle from here on out. Just
like
so everybody
that, right?
knows, the Gaggle refers to Paul Blackburn, Tyler McGill, all the extraneous depth pitching pieces. I don't want anyone from the Gaggle in this rotation.
And truth is, they're probably going to have to be. So we'll see about it.
Compared
beyond
to the
that,
Dodgers, sickening.
Speaking of that's the overall point. Speaking of not the Gaggle, Sean Manaea was officially reintroduced to the New York Mets, and it was just fantastic. I mean, he did it from his car. Guys,
the Zoom call in his car in Florida was really grade A stuff. Like, what a year and a time we're living in 2025, when that's like his, I know he was on the team, but like his reintroduction press conference, and he's like talking to reporters. He's like, hey.
No, I honestly, I will always stand a Zoom in a car. This is an aside. I just have to say it in case any of you guys have ever said it. Have you guys ever seen the Zoom of the guy who was zooming into court? Okay. There was this guy who was zooming. No, just hear me out. There was this guy who was zooming into court, and the charges they had him on were drunk driving. So his license was suspended. He zoomed into court from his car driving. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry, judge. Just 1 second. The judge is like, so are you just going to pull over? He's like, yeah. The judge, so what are the charges again? Him. Oh, man.
Oh my
I was
God.
like, well.
Wait, but he got his license taken away. So he can't be driving at all.
That's my point.
Oh my God.
He literally zoomed in from the car. I was like, bro, you did it to yourself. Like, and he knew it. He's like, hey, I'm sorry. Just flag went up, accepted defeat.
That's crazy.
That was the most iconic Zoom interview I've ever seen. If anyone's seen that, please let me know or drop the link.
Where is zooming into court an option?
I'm telling you, it must have been during COVID times.
Oh my
It
God.
was awesome. I will drop that in the comments if anybody's curious. Yeah. Just a great time.
Sure.
But beyond that, anyway, Manaea, Zoom, car interview, and it was awesome. He's talking about all the reasons why he picked the Mets, essentially saying it was the right fit for him, talked about wanting a little bit more stability. He said he really appreciated, in his career being able to see different cities and whatnot, but that he liked the fact that now he had a 3-year deal and he could have some roots. He also brought up his wife quite a few times, which I think goes to show how important the wives are in the decision making in these athletes' contracts.
Absolutely, yes. He said,
partners.
we don't have any kids yet, so we haven't had to use the daycare situation from the Mets. But he said, but from what I've been seeing and been told, the daycare stuff is really great. The communication between the wives and the organization has been incredible. When I'm at the field and you need tickets or something, it's super easy. I mean, the wives matter. This falls right in line with Juan Soto and his. Now, this was not a wife situation in the Soto situation, but he hypothetically picked the Mets because of the money and also because he loved how the Cohens made his family feel welcome.
Right.
I think the wives are a critical part of the free agency. I mean, you even think about, first of all, I think the Mets' wives are all close, and that's a delight, thinking about Manaea's wife and Lindor's wife and even Alonso's wife sometimes, and the Christmas parties I've seen and the weddings. Like, it's all so cute, and I love watching it from afar.
It's all in the family.
But Alex Cohen and her emphasis or her influence, I should say, on the organization as Steve Cohen's wife and as someone who is listed on we've said this before, but you see all the ownership stuff. It's not Steve Cohen, it's Steve and Alex Cohen. So I think Alex Cohen has way more of a pull behind the scenes than anyone knows.
And you're right. Like with Soto is the family, but I think that's what Alex Cohen understands. Like wives matter, partners matter, families matter. Like people matter to people.
Matter. Yes.
Like that's who they care about. So to know that their people are going to be taken care of course that's going to be a big factor in the decision making. It seems crazy to me to think that any owner or someone who was trying to court some of these athletes wouldn't think about that. How can you not?
No, and I know that everybody's response to that is always, well, these guys are making millions of dollars, they can figure out. That doesn't, I've always thought this, and in any professional sports like the NFL, it doesn't take away from the fact that these wives and these families have to pick up and just move. I mean, think about trade deadline season in the summer. That is a nightmare for a family with young kids and wives like many of these guys have. So
it's a lifestyle.
Sean Manaea was happy with the Mets family situation.
Yes, amazing news for Sean Manaea and his wife Talat. Okay, Pete Alonso, also going to jump to him for a second. Pete Alonso has offered the Mets a 3-year deal with opt-outs. I think let's just stop talking about this and just do it. Just do it Nike style.
Yeah. Just do it. Yes. So Manaea has allegedly been working out this offseason in Florida with Alonso. He said that he would love for the Mets to bring Alonso back. I think at this point, everybody would love for the Mets to bring Alonso back. It's kind of one of those, like, if everyone knows what's good for them, if Alonso knows what's good for him, if the Mets know what's good for them with the fans, just bring him back. Jim Duquette had that report to SNY earlier this week that the 3-year deal with opt-outs that the camp has offered to the Mets, allegedly right now, it's only available to the Mets. Also, Scott Boras shot down the Prince Fielder comparison that we had a lot of fun last week because that was outrageous. He said a 10-year-old contract is not relevant to the current Alonso negotiation. You know, listen, Scott
Did he
Boras.
actually say it, you think? And then he just got caught?
I don't know. I mean, maybe that was only reported a few places, so is it true, is it not true? But, like, maybe you were just caught red-handed, Scott, and you were like, okay. Then you took a lot of backlash for it, and you were, like, going to roll back the tape on that.
But you know what? If there was anybody who I was going to pick in a PR nightmare crisis situation, I'd probably pick him.
Oh, I agree.
Like, I just feel like he just gets his way out of anything.
I know, he really
But no,
does.
that was funny. That was great. Yeah, I think at this point it's time to, enough has happened, enough negotiating.
The clock is
in
ticking.
or out.
The clock expired on the Alonso negotiation. Like, the time is up. The timer has been out of sand for a long time. Let's get it done. Let's move on. Let's certainly get it done before, pitchers and catchers report in a month.
Oh my God.
You know,
oh my God.
You know, as of last week, we're going to get into our random bits and gatherings, fun facto clock for all of you.
Love that.
One of them, though, that I forgot to put on here is that as of last week, we are officially closer to opening day 2025 than we were to the final game of the 2024 season. Coming around the mountain. This is me talking myself into it in January. I just need the Mets back or I'm going to lose my mind.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Okay.
I'm pumped. All right, some other random bits. Dom Smith has signed a minor league deal with the Yankees. The former Met played for the Red Sox and Reds last season, had 6 home runs and a .691 OPS in 93 games. Feelings?
Hate that for no other reason
Sure.
than it's because the Yankees. I wish Dom Smith all the best in his career. Obviously, there were some trials and tribulations there as a Met. Never really fully caught on at the major league level or impressed the way the organization was hoping that he would. Something that seems Metsy is that he would get signed by the Yankees and then all of a sudden be a really great player. So I'm not thrilled by that.
That is a
Wish
Mets
you the
thing.
best, Dom Smith.
Here's a love that. It was this week in 2006 that Keith Hernandez and Rod Darling are named analysts for Mets games on SNY. The trio of Gary, Keith, and Ron, GKR, have announced games together for 19 seasons and are the longest tenured broadcast booth in Mets history.
If you had I know, I love them. I love them so much. If you had that question, like, if you could sit down and eat dinner with 3 people, what if my 3 people were Gary, Keith, and Ron?
Wow. See, in my version, you only get one person. And I would pick them if Judge Judy didn't exist, but she does, so sorry.
We're not going to get into all that
we
right
won't
now.
do all that right now. Anyway.
They're amazing and they're incredible and they're my voices this summer and my narrate. When I think about missing the Mets, like I just said in January, what do I actually miss? Sure, I miss some moments and some excitement on the baseball field, but really I miss the voices of Gary, Keith, and Ron in my living room every night.
Broadcasters matter, man.
A lot.
Imagine those games, but it was just silence, no GKR. It would be...
And you know what?
Be so different.
I'm going to say it. Those playoff games with no GKR, what are the calls that I remember from the Alonso home run and the Lindor home run? The Howie Rose calls.
Yep.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Completely agree. All of a sudden, I started listening to the radio all the time.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. How can you not?
Mute the TV.
Yeah, it was great. Howie Rose was great also, just
So
to say
great.
that.
Yeah, I know. We always leave him out.
I know.
Love him
We should
too.
give him more flowers. When David Wright gets his jersey retired in July, he will become the first Met to have his number retired who never played for another team. And there are 11 other retired Mets numbers. That's amazing.
Yes, certainly unique, certainly makes him stand out in terms of his Mets legacy. You know, on the Alonso note, Wright in his press conference for the number retirement last week, he dropped in Alonso. I wonder if he got in Alonso's head a little bit with that. He said a few things about, playing your career for one team only and how much that, I guess, furthers your legacy in a town like New York. Just interesting to think about.
Very nice. Love those wise words coming from that young man.
Coming from our captain.
Absolutely. We're not going to do it this episode, but I just want to say it to get it in people's heads. I think we should do a Who's on Your Mets Mount Rushmore episode. Wouldn't that be fun?
Ooh, fun.
Talk about the best of the best, debate it.
Now my wheels are turning.
Right? Finally, save the best for last, at least for now. And this was on the Chris Rose rotation. Nick Castellanos believes that Jose Iglesias was the National League MVP in 2024. And how did he come up with that argument?
Yes, so Chris Rose, obviously formerly of MLB Network's Intentional Talk. So Castellanos goes on his show.
Oh yeah, sorry, Castellanos. My
I
fault.
believe it's Castellanos. I looked it up a lot today before. I'm pretty sure it's Castellanos. Anyway, goes on Intentional Talk. Now, here's where this gets intriguing for me. Castellanos plays for the Philadelphia Phillies. So he literally plays for one of the Mets' primary division rivals. And he did used to be teammates on the Tigers with Iglesias, but he's given Iglesias and the Mets all these flowers. He goes, quote, I'm going to read this whole quote because I think it's noteworthy. If you're looking at the MVP as having the most weight on creating wins for your team, there's no other player that has had that much weight as Jose Iglesias. With him being able to come in and bring that Latin spark, knocked the ice off of Lindor, finally got Vientos comfortable to be an everyday third baseman, and now a bunch of guys that looked like they had no direction in the beginning of the year, they made the playoffs and got to where they did while the Mets organization had the OMG signs everywhere from in the city to in the stadium. And I know our Dodgers fans are going to come through with the Ohtani. So here's what he said about that. He said, Shohei Ohtani played a huge part in the Dodgers winning. I don't know if he's the sole purpose of the Dodgers moving in one direction. That doesn't mean that what Shohei did isn't record book worthy and he's not an amazing baseball player. If I'm starting a team, I pick Shohei over Jose Iglesias. There's no doubt about it. I'm not stupid. But the way I look at baseball, Jose Iglesias is the unanimous National League MVP.
Unanimous.
I'm not going to lie. When I first saw that headline, before I read the articles and watched the clip, I thought he was a joke. I thought he was kind of saying it in jest. He was dead serious. And do I agree with that take? I mean, no. But it is just interesting. It furthers our point that was actually about Lindor when the MVP race was going on, that is the most valuable player supposed to be the best player on the field? Or is it supposed to be the player that is the most valuable to their team
that
and
furthered
furthered their team I guess the furthest, right? We argued that about Lindor, that the Mets would have gotten nowhere that they got this year without Francisco Lindor. I guess culture-wise, you can say the same thing about Jose Iglesias.
No, it is interesting. It makes you wonder, okay, well, what does valuable actually mean in the context of most valuable player? I would be curious. I mean, I don't agree with that either, but it is interesting when you think about it. It almost feels like there should be a separate award for that, but what would you call it other than
Well, there
him and he was a
are
valuable
awards
player?
for best pitcher in the Cy Young, best hitter in the Hank Aaron Award. There are awards. Is it most valuable to baseball? Okay, then that's probably Shohei Ohtani. Or is it most valuable to your team?
Right.
All interesting. And give us some takes. Honestly, I'm interested to hear everybody's takes on that in the comments about the MVP award, Ohtani, and all of that aside. Give us some MVP takes on whether you think that award, what you truly think that award should be given for.
Right. What does it actually mean to be the most valuable player? Final thoughts, and then we'll get out of here.
Final thoughts. The offseason keeps rolling every week. I think every week at the beginning of the week, I'm kind of like, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to discuss? Alonso hasn't signed yet. And then there's a million things to talk about because baseball is just the best. And it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
So see you all next week unless something breaks before that. And thanks for sticking with us. We're counting the days until pitchers and catchers.
Hey, great time to tell you, as always, we are all across social media. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube Shorts, wherever you want to watch or listen to us, we're there. YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts as well. So always be on the lookout. If something big or breaking happens, we'll do an extra innings episode. But as per usual, thank you so much for watching and following along. We'll see you back here next week.
And if you're Petey, sign on that dotted line.